Welcome back to Girl Take the Lead, the podcast where we reimagine leadership, challenge the status quo, and share the real, raw, and remarkable stories that help us break cycles, find our voice, and lead with intention. And I'm your host, Yo Canny. Have you ever noticed how two people can experience the exact same situation and walk away with completely different stories? One sees possibility, the other sees limitation. One feels energized, the other feels drained. So what makes that different? Is it the circumstance or is it something happening within us? Today's conversation invites us to look a little deeper at that question. Because what if the way we experience our lives has less to do with what's happening around us and more to do with how we direct our beliefs and energy? I am so pleased to welcome back Michele Phillips, leadership coach, speaker, and author, who first joined us on our episode 130. Michele has spent over 25 years helping leaders and organizations shift from operating on adrenaline to alignment, a way of working and living that creates more clarity, purpose, and ease. In her newest book, Energize Your Happiness, Tap into Personal Energy and Shape Your Destiny, Michele explores how our thoughts, beliefs, and personal energy influence the outcomes we create in our lives. In this conversation, we talk about what it means to lead your energy, how beliefs quietly shape your experience, and how so much of our energy is often spent on things we don't control. Michele also introduces the idea of personal energy alignment, PEA, that feeling of being fully present, connected, and in flow, and how we can begin to access that more consistently. And she reminds us of something both simple and powerful. You may not have written your beginning, but you get to write your outcome. This is a thoughtful and energizing conversation about agency, awareness, and the choices that shape how we live and lead. Let's jump in. Here you go. Michele, welcome back to Girl Take the Lead. We are going to have so much fun with this conversation.
I
Thank
am
you.
so excited to be here with you.
Yeah. And I saw all the things that you're doing. You have got to tell us and introduce yourself to those folks who didn't catch our previous episode, which was episode 130, which I'll have in the show notes for everybody to link to.
Yes.
But yeah, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Yolanda, Girl, take the lead. I love it. We were together, I don't even know, a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And I just enjoyed your energy. I love seeing your posts all the time. I love how you fearlessly put yourself out there with purple hair and do all these wonderful things because that's what it's all about. So, I tell you about me. I've been doing corporate workshops and executive coaching for 25 years in August, which is a big deal. And when I first was on your show, that's what I was doing, corporate workshops. And then I've since launched my second book and I started my own podcast. So I'm following in your wise footsteps and learning the podcast world.
Uh,
But my first love is working with intact teams, individuals, and corporations, and really helping them, I like to say, run on alignment versus adrenaline.
ooh,
So many people are just moving and going and clicking and so fast and like living in fight and flight mode when if they were more purposeful and aligned, just
mhm.
like a car with a good alignment, it would be a much smoother, easier ride.
Right. So tell it the name of your book is go ahead, tell us that in your
The,
podcast so
the
people
name of
know.
the book is Energize Your Happiness. It's my second book. It's not a follow-up, but it's a evolution of learning, and everything I write about comes from my own fears, doubts, and insecurities.
Mhm.
And in Happiness is a Habit, I learned and practiced the habits of positive, successful people. What did they do mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally? And it's based in a lot of research and positive psychology. And once you write a book, it's so funny. You become the poster child and you have to live what you wrote. So I had to really, become, walk the talk. So I was doing all these things and I started reaching these really high energy levels. I always say like on a regular Wednesday. And I was like, whew, this feels so good. And the research has shown when you do something for yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, not every day, but on a regular basis, you
Yeah.
feel better and you start performing better and you have better results. So in Energize Your Happiness, I dig a little deeper into your beliefs, your
Mhm.
emotions, helping people manage their perspective, and what I call your personal energy alignment. And we all, anyone listening knows when you're in that alignment, the athlete would call it the zone. A
Mhm.
positive psychologist calls it flow. It's when time flies, or you're just in the dance floor. The purpose of dancing is got no purpose. It's just to feel good. So you get into this beautiful energy space, and this new book is teaching people how to get there more regularly instead of waiting for it to come to you.
Right. Right. We'll talk a little bit more about energy because I think that's, of course, that's what your book is all about. But you had an experience, which you wrote about in the book, about being alarmingly enthusiastic. Someone gave you that feedback, right?
Yes.
But what did you see there? What were some insights you had around that?
Early in my life, I have a lot of energy. I talk fast. I'm excitable. And it's such an interesting, our world is so funny. People always tell you, slow down, Michelle. You're talking too fast. You're having too much fun. People tell me I smile too much. Why are you so happy? What's wrong with you? And that's kind of what's wrong with the world. When we see someone who's happy, we question it.
Hmm.
So I was always being questioned, and this person wrote on my evaluation that I was alarmingly enthusiastic, and I don't think it was a compliment. But I decided to own it. So earlier in my life, I tapped down my energy. Now
Hmm.
I manage my energy. It's very different. And we all have this beautiful life-giving energy. And yes, it comes from sleep and eating good, eating the proper foods and moving your body, but it comes from the way we think. It comes from what
Hmm.
we believe. And when you focus your energy on things that are purposeful and meaningful to you, life becomes a much easier ride than wasted energy. I talk about wasted energy. Most people are using their energy on complaining, worrying, judging, talking about all the things they don't want.
So what would you tell that guy today who gave you that on your feedback form?
Now I would say thank you. Back then I was probably too, I wouldn't say that. But we're just afraid. Here's so funny, yo. If someone came in and said, "Oh my God, I had such a bad day. It's the worst day of my life," we would all go, "Oh, tell me about it. We might need a drink for this." But when someone comes in and says, "Oh my God, it's the best," we go, "Ugh, I don't want to hear about your best day." Like as a human species, unfortunately, we embrace the negative, or that's how our brains are set up that way. And we
Mhm.
kind of, if you're too happy, we don't like it. So I really want to normalize us being excited. A little kid is excited. I think about how joyful children are. Someone just sent me, posted on LinkedIn. You'll have to see it later. This
Yeah.
beautiful artist from Africa. She just bought a painting, and all of his paintings are these little children, and the joy in these paintings that children have, we lose it probably by the time we're 8, if not sooner. And I
Mhm.
want to bring that back to be normal. I want us to embrace your lows. We're going to have them, but also don't hide from your highs.
I love that. I would love for you to say, don't hide from your highs to somebody who wrote that on your performance feedback.
Well, and that's the thing is, emotionally intelligent people, you're not going to throw your happiness in someone's face that's not in a good mood, but also really learning how to cheer for your friends, for your
Mhm.
village, for the people in your life, being that big cheerleader for the other people in your life so that when something good happens to you, they're cheering you on.
Yeah. Well, one of the impressions that I had of your book was the depth that you went into with your book. And the questions that you give us to reflect on and exercises that you offer us. Loved all of that. So I
Thank you.
kudos to you for bringing us along in the process. It's like you thought through so much of how to go about bringing that energy into our own life. And you talk a little bit about people with the most energy. It's on page 8. And I
Yeah.
wonder if you could read for us a little bit. So love to spoil my listeners by having the author actually read.
Yeah, I'm very happy to read.
Mm-hmm.
The people with the most energy are the ones who have learned not to take life personally. They don't get easily offended or waste their energy on people or topics that don't deserve their attention. These people have the knack of letting flow through them. Like me, I know you have experienced disappointments and life hasn't always gone your way, nor is it supposed to. And yet, if you want to stay connected to the unlimited supply of energy, positive energy, you must let things go. You must keep your heart and mind open. The saying, go with the flow, is as much practical advice as metaphoric.
Mm. So going with the flow, I find in myself like that demands almost me to let go of my preconceptions about something or my expectations of something and creating new space actually for me to show up a little bit differently. How do you see it that way as well?
I do. You know, Eckhart Tolle has a beautiful quote that says, make friends with the present moment. The
Mm-hmm.
present moment is here, and what gets us in trouble is we want to demand it to be different. It's
Mm-hmm.
not different. This is
Yeah.
the present moment. So make friends with the present moment doesn't mean maybe celebrate it or like it, but the quote I always say to myself is, the situation is never wrong. How I'm looking at it is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bigger picture on this planet than I see with my human brain. And I trust that greater picture. And I know that with all the craziness that goes on, that hearts and minds are opening constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Consciousness is growing and we are evolving because that's the only thing we can do.
Mm-hmm.
So it does seem sometimes like we're going backwards, but I still say there's a bigger picture. And how can I take what's going on and look at it in a new way? And
Yeah.
that's not always easy, but when
Mm-hmm.
you're able to step away from it and give it some, even asking the question, help me see this another way. I promise you new ideas fall in and you go, ah, oh, I didn't see it like that. Or, oh,
It
this,
creates that little bit of space sometimes we need in ourselves, I think, just to, you know, put our shoulders back and breathe.
and transcend. I love the word transcend. To
Mm-hmm.
transcend means to see what's happening and transcend it.
Yeah.
And see, you know, maybe both people have a point or they're seeing it differently or through their eyes and everyone's doing the best they can. It doesn't condone bad behavior. And that's where people get, you know, it doesn't condone bad behavior, but again, what do I control in this situation? That
Yeah.
was another thing I wrote about a lot in the book is to, you know, stop giving your energy to things you don't control. And that like, huh, that takes so much off your plate. And then you have you to handle and your beliefs and your thoughts. And then you get to decide, you know, every single person that comes in contact with me will feel better.
Yeah.
And that's the decision I made. Anyone can, you can make your own decisions, but then you become that light in the world.
Yeah. I love when you talk about joy and how we get there. Um, and I know you talk about PEA throughout your
Yeah.
book a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about that with us?
Yeah. You know, a lot of people call it different things. I call it your personal energy alignment. And it's when you are mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally tuned in and connected to something greater than you. You are in
Mhm.
this present moment fully. It's when you're, you know, walking up in the woods in a mountain, when you're just dancing, when you're, you know, they call it the runner's high. Most people know that feeling or have had glimpses of that feeling, but they don't, nobody teaches us how to manage the energy on a daily basis. So we're waiting and hoping for something good to happen so we can have that
Hi
good
again.
feeling of
Yeah.
like going to a rock concert or just laughing with friends,
Yeah.
spontaneous laughter. So I want to teach people that you have more control over this than you think. And by managing your energy, managing your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, you have more days like that. They're
Yeah.
maybe not all epic, but they're just, I call it glowing and flowing. I'm glowing and flowing. Just today I got my email. I got upgraded, last year I got upgraded 15 times. 15. So then this morning, next week, I'm going to Minneapolis or Minnesota, and I got my email. You've been upgraded from Delta. I'm like, it's like these little tiny micro moments of, yes, man, I just got upgraded. So those things happen more often than not, and you start to live in higher vibrating emotions. You still dip down to the low ones. We are human and we feel everything. The
Mhm.
biggest misconception of happiness is that you feel the negative. You feel the negative. I promise you, but you have the tools to move yourself up.
Yeah. I think you have to have the perception, right? To be able to see that something has happened. Like if you're kind of in a negative space, everything does show up as a burden, overwhelming. Why is it like this? And it's almost like in order to see the beauty, you have got to shift.
It's all connected. Every
Yeah.
thought is a magnetic, electromagnetic unit of energy that collects another thought just like it.
Yeah.
So if it's a negative thought, it collects another negative and another negative. Our brains, our beautiful brains, are set up to look for negative. They're set
Mhm.
up to keep us safe, but we have to be smarter and override the reptilian brain.
Yeah.
And I always say, is it real fear? I could be sitting at my desk typing away, sunny day, and all of a sudden I get that twist in my gut. And it's like, oh, most people override the twist and just power through. And then the next twist and the next twist. And then before you know it, they're having a horrible day. But if I just stop at that first twist and say, what just happened?
Yeah.
I want people to tune into how they're feeling. We are such a left brain world. We live so much in our left brain, which says get shit done and, fight and flight, get shit done and protect yourself.
Yeah.
But our right brain is spiritual joy, creativity, love. And in order to get there, we have to override that fight and flight that's always trying to provide, protect, keep us
Yeah.
safe.
Definitely. We have some wonderful passages. I think maybe we could do the one on beliefs now, because I think that might fit in nicely. And for anybody that has the book, it's on page 93.
Thank you. Please get the book. Okay. I'm just gonna I'll start from the top, right?
Yeah.
Energy rule number 9, believe, think, and create on purpose. You become what you think about all day long. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The most significant privilege that so many people take for granted is the freedom to choose, guide, and bridge their beliefs and thoughts. If you recall from the last chapter, a belief is defined as a statement that you have accepted as truth. Most of us have been conditioned to think that it's hard to guide our thoughts and that all these deep, dark secrets lie in our subconscious minds. Whatever is going on in your subconscious is what is manifesting in your life, period. If you want to know what's happening in your subconscious mind, look at what's happening in your life. Old thought patterns are hard to break, yet easy to see. And you don't have to go back and dig up your childhood to understand them. If you don't like the results you are experiencing right now, my suggestion is to look at your thoughts and beliefs in the present moment. All your power is in what you are focusing on right now. Your beliefs about every subject generate thoughts about that subject, which generate your emotions around that subject, and this is what generates your mood and leads to your actions.
That is so beautiful the way that you were able to almost connect for us this little equation. That's how I saw it. Like, okay, beliefs um, leads to thoughts, which leads to emotions, which leads to mood, leads to action. It's like if you put little arrows by each one, it's just amazing. Um, what do you see there? Do you see one element kind of triggering all of it? I know you said about beliefs that you think the underlying belief is what gets things started for us.
Well, so yeah, so again, our brains are tricky. So it's, there's this reason they call it the mastermind, the person who has mastered their mind. So a lot of people want to achieve things. I want to, make a gazillion dollars. I want to buy a yacht, whatever. I want to go learn Spanish, whatever the belief, whatever the goal is. But then the doubts creep in. I
Mm.
want this, but I can't have it because. So I always believe in my own life, if there's something in my life I want that I don't have, it's because I believe I have a doubt that's blocking me.
Yeah.
Because everything in my life that I believe in, I already have. So what's a belief that's making me think I can't have that, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, pretty enough, educated enough? You fill in the blank. Most people run from these doubts and fears and insecurities. I want you to look at them because once you look at them, they lose their power.
Hmm.
The shamans have a saying, name it to tame it. And I could say, oh, I believe this because my childhood, my father always said money doesn't grow on trees or whatever it is. So I have this belief that I shouldn't spend money, or I have a belief that, there's no good men out there. People go, oh, there's no good men. I'm like, you only need one. You don't need many. And there's no houses that I can afford. I'm like, you only need one. So there's a belief that there's no houses out there. There's no men. There's no jobs. You can't find good people to work. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
And we are self-fulfilling prophecies in that once we believe something, we will find evidence to back up our belief. And
Yeah.
the beauty of the brain is if a belief is just something you decided was true. I have a friend, I laugh, he's a Jewish man who decided now he believes in Jesus and he joined a group called Jews for Jesus. I didn't even know there was a group. So I'm like, one day you didn't believe and now you do believe. And it's just a great example that beliefs are something you have power over.
Yeah. I think also too, the power to question them. Because as you said, what gets us started is we've taken on a belief that we think is true. So then to question that, is it true? I've done a recent, I guess I have 12 now, looking at different myths and beliefs we have about
Mm.
aging.
Oh, those
Uh,
are so good.
I just get into those because,
Yes, because we're aging.
well, and they happen so automatically.
Yeah.
I have to kind of dig in to find it. I know some people know like right away where their belief is right at the surface and can immediately start working on it. But I find I've got to write. Like I'll catch my body's trying to tell me something like it's anxious or something's coming up. An example was not long ago, I hosted my daughter's wedding shower. And the
Congratulations.
thank you. And the day before, I just wanted to make sure that I was present, that
Mm.
I didn't get all caught up in the things that were supposed to happen or the food that was supposed, just anything that could go wrong. And I decided to do writing. And when that writing happened, it brought up all those little beliefs that kind of hide in our bodies
Yeah.
and they just sort of grab us quickly. And I went, oh, I see which one is poking its crazy head right now. Like, and then I could work with it and question it and, turn it around and Byron Katie talk. But um, they're not always visible.
No, no, I think you make such a good point. If it was easy, right? We'd have it all figured out. It's not that easy, and they're not always visible. And since you read my book, I'm a big proponent of writing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just wake up in the morning and I say, "Dear soul, what do you want me to know today?" Because like you said, like when you start to write and you go, I want to have this beautiful event for my daughter, but what's getting in the way? And there's all these shoulds, right? The mother should this and should that. And this is how, I don't know, every time I do these things, this stuff is showing up on my screen. I guess it's something in the Zoom, right? And I think we do get caught up in the shoulds, how a mother should behave and everything should go according to plan. And then when you dig in, it's like you realize, we're trying to fulfill something that's not us.
Yeah.
And I think writing is I always tell my clients, I guarantee you, if you write for an extended period of time, you will gain clarity, you will have an aha moment, and you will get to know yourself better.
Yeah. I think it also creates some space in ourselves where you can be more accepting of yourself and find yourself pretty funny and
Yes, the sense of humor is important.
and look at something and go, there I am again. Like did I get this handled like 10 years
Oh, I
ago?
know. Oh, that's the worst. I'm like, how old am I? Am I still carrying the same, but
I
that's
know.
what we're here for, yes. And there's
I,
always just a new set of challenges.
I know. Definitely. So, what do you find? I mean, like if you were to tell somebody today the best ways to get at our energy, we've talked about writing, probably, as a way to get present. Um, what else would you say are things that can help us get at that intentional, positive energy?
Yeah, energy, I love this the saying, energy is at our service. And we're all using the energy, but where are we focusing it? So we talk about the wasted energy, but I use the example over and over of going outside on a sunny day with a magnifying glass and a pile of leaves. I take all that energy of the sun and I start a fire. So with humans, with us, I want you to focus your energy on what you want and where you're going. And because the minute you focus your energy on what you don't want, you slow down your progress. And the best example I ever heard of this was, imagine going to the stove to boil an egg. Anyone listening knows that you're going to put water in a pot, you're going to put an egg in the pot, and in so many seconds, the water will get to 112 degrees. And I don't know, I think it's 9 minutes, you have a perfectly hard boiled egg. We trust the process. But
Mm,
when we set a goal or we say we want something, oh, I want to start a business, and we turn on, let's say the goal is the business, right? The egg represents our goal, hard boiling the egg, and the water is our thoughts. So we turn on the flame, and the thoughts, oh yeah, we're going to start a business. But the minute we have a doubt, the flame gets shut off, and the
mm,
egg doesn't boil. And then we say, oh, I want to do, and then we I have heard clients in 1 minute, I want this and I want, but here's why I can't. I want, and within 30, to 60 seconds, they will tell me, they will spend 10 to 15 seconds telling me what they want, and the rest of the time tell me why they can't have it.
ah,
So it's like we're turning the flame on and off on our own needs, wants, and desires versus saying, this is what I want, and this is the baby step I'm going to take. One
yeah,
step. I want to be healthy, so I'm going to walk around the block 3 times a week, not every day. That's the biggest thing that people get me crazy about too. They think if they don't do something every day, they're a failure. Every little step you take counts as long as it's leading you in the direction you want to go.
right.
So it's focusing your thoughts, energy, actions, and you backslide, but then if you take 5 steps forward, you're only one back, then 5 steps forward and one back. Eventually you get where you're going.
You used the word trust. I like, I have recently noticed, like, and I think you gave a great example of it too, that when you stop trusting the process, that's kind of you seize up and you don't go forward.
It's like getting in your car and putting in the address where you're going and then getting mad that you're not there yet. You have to trust. You have to trust that if you keep moving in the direction, you'll get there. But
Exactly.
we doubt ourselves too fast. And
Yeah.
that's why I said we kind of shut off the flame. So that's why I tell people just trust yourself. Like even this morning, I went on my meditation app and I hadn't been on in a while. And it's like, oh, you've been gone. And pick a goal. Do you want to do 5 days in a row? I'm like, no, I don't want to do any days in a row. I just want to know that during the week, I meditate at least 4 times a week. And that's good for me.
Yeah.
But all
Yeah.
the technology is wanting us to be perfect and wanting us to do it every day. And I think that's why most people stop.
Yeah. Definitely. We get to that point where it doesn't work for us.
But we have to trust the process, right? That the GPS is
Yeah.
going to get us where we're going. And then if we are taking the steps, eventually we do get there. And
Yeah.
most people listening, if you're listening right now, I guarantee you anything that you really wanted and kept with, you have. You figured it out.
So great. Well, is there anything else from your book or from just in general you'd like to leave with our listeners and our viewers? Um, it's so great to talk about energy. I feel positive. I mean, I'm like, whew,
Yeah.
high, I'm feeling high vibration right
Good.
now. And like going, yeah, life is good. It's all right. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and well, that's what I want everyone to know, and that's the beauty, I want people to know that you are the ingredient in your good day. We think the best thing I want people to learn is that the day doesn't have to be good to you. You could be good to the day. if you wake up and decide, I say, make it a great day. I'm gonna, and even if I, fall down the stairs, it's like I must have been meant to meet the doctor or something. I mean, I will twist anything because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to trust that, I'm going to make something good out of everything that happens to me. So that's the process of this, and I want people to read the book, try it on. I want them to prove to themselves they have agency and power. And then you don't need me or you. Not that we don't need each other, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I want people to say, oh, then you be the prophet. Then you help someone else. And that's how exponentially the world gets better and brighter.
Yeah.
I want people to know their own power.
Ah, so good. Question I ask, I'm not sure I asked you this in our previous episode, but now I ask all our guests, what would you tell your 20 something self today?
Oh my gosh, it's not that serious. Stop the drama. Oh my gosh, if I think back to what I was writing in my journal or what I was complaining about or afraid of when I was 20, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
We tend to blow things up in the moment. So to not take it so seriously, trust that everything is happening for you and not to you.
Mm. And I know that you went to our card store and that
Yes.
I have now designed a card for you and
Very excited.
for your book using your wonderful quote. Remember, you may not have written your beginning, but you get to write your outcome. So I loved that. And I when I saw your book and it came my way, I went, oh my gosh, we've just got to make a card around that. And thank God you liked it.
Yeah, I love it.
And so we have that in the store for anyone who wants to be reminded of that and or send it to someone who needs a little bit of reminding sometimes.
Can I share a story around that? Do we have
Oh,
time?
absolutely.
So my dear sweet, I always say my dear sweet loving, music loving, sometimes often grumpy, but always loving dad, as I call him. He passed away about a little over 2 years ago. And before he passed, years before he passed, I thought, I don't know if I can live without this man on the planet. I just thought we had such a bond.
Mhm.
My sister would say, you and dad have this weird bond. And like I just knew when he was happy. I knew when he needed me. I knew like we just, codependent also, but that's another show. But we just loved each other deeply. We fought deeply. And I thought, I don't know, I can't live without this man. So I literally was preparing myself years before he passed, which might sound weird, but I would read books on death and dying and grief and how to handle this. And I read, books on what happens to the soul when it leaves the body. And there's so many beautiful books out there that really gave me so much comfort that when it came time when he was ill, I don't want to say, you're still sad, you still miss, you still don't want them to leave, but I had this sense of peace or
Mhm.
acceptance. Again, not to say that you weren't sad, that I felt like I'm writing this outcome. He is my chief spiritual officer. He is always with me. He's always sending me signs. I talk to him every single day. He's not left me. And that's what I mean by writing your outcome. Like, I don't control the events, but I get to tell the story. And that
Mhm.
story makes me feel good instead of the story that makes me feel sad.
Mm. Well, I think our card is just hitting that spot completely. And I'm so honored that
It's
you've
beautiful.
come back and joined us and talked to us about your book and such an important book. Um, I think that also is important because there's so much of you in this book
Mm.
and who you are and your journey. And you're just so open to sharing that with everybody.
Thank you. I want people
And
to know that I am by no means perfect. And, that's how I feel. If I could do it, you could do it. And, we all have access to this. And so that's why I want to share. I want to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. I am not perfect and I've fallen down and I've made a lot of mistakes, but we all have. And they're just building blocks and they're just
yeah.
lessons. And that's why I want to share as much of myself as I could.
Well, let's tell our audience a little bit about how they can find you and work with you and your podcast and your book so that they know.
Thank you. Yeah. EnergizeYourHappiness.com will lead you to my website, which will have everything. I'm Energized with Michelle on Instagram, Michele Phillips on LinkedIn. But if you go to EnergizeYourHappiness.com, you can find me. The book is available on Amazon, on Lulu.com, and the first book I had a publisher, and this book I chose to self-publish. So I am asking everyone to join the movement and share it, like it, gift it to a friend, because it really is a message that to me, it's bigger than you and me. This is a message that more people need to hear so they can, start changing and shifting the energy on the planet as well.
Yeah.
Podcast is called Write Your Outcome. The book is Energize Your Happiness. The podcast is Write Your Outcome. And again, wherever podcasts are.
Yeah. It's so good. Love having you as fellow podcasters. It's really
Yes,
fun to
thank
have
you.
people in the boat with me. So thank you, Michele. Thank you again. Just love your energy and love you. And I don't think you're overly enthusiastic at all. So
Thank you. Because we're singing to the choir here, which is beautiful.
that's right. Thank you again. My sincere thanks to Michele for joining us. And we hope she'll join us again when she writes her next book. What I appreciate most about our conversation was how she brings us back to something we can easily forget, that we have more influence over our experience than we often realize. Not by controlling everything around us, but by learning how to direct our energy and question the beliefs we've accepted as true. Here are 3 reflections to carry with you from this episode. 1, our beliefs shape our thoughts, which shape our emotions, and ultimately the actions we take. 2, much of our energy is spent on things we don't control, and reclaiming that energy can change everything. And 3, and perhaps most importantly, you may not have written your beginning, but you can write your outcome. If you'd like to connect with Michele, you can visit her website, which is in our show notes. And if today's conversation resonated with you, maybe you'll notice a belief that's been quietly shaping your experience. You might take a few minutes to write, not to fix anything, but simply to notice and question those beliefs. Because sometimes awareness is where change begins. And speaking of what comes next week on Girl Take the Lead, we welcome author Leslie A. Rasmussen, award-winning novelist. Together, we'll explore grief, hope, and stories we carry. Because grief rarely follows a straight path, it can show up as laughter one moment and tears the next, sometimes within the very same conversation. Leslie shares the emotional journey behind her newest novel, When People Leave, and how her own experiences with loss has shaped the stories she tells. As always, thank you for listening, for sharing these conversations, and for being part of a community that believes leadership grows through curiosity, courage, and reflection. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Listen inward, lead outward, and remember, the way you direct your energy shapes the life you create. Talk soon.